Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from Anonymous Talk E. AITA for confronting and leaving my ex because he removed protection without my consent and got me pregnant at 21. I, 21F, had a boyfriend, 23M, from 19Y till 21Y. Let's call him John. He was very controlling and always complained about how he wanted children. I'm neurodivergent and can't hold a job because of another disability, and he refused to get one despite claiming he was the man of our relationship. If he wanted intimacy, I made sure he used protection and always had Plan B on hand just in case. On his 22nd birthday, he went out and came home utterly wasted. We had intimacy, and I watched him apply protection, so I thought we were okay. We showered after, and I thought nothing of it. More information as to how I didn't notice is in me. My disability causes numbness in areas of my body, plus I was in post-gas bliss. He then picked me up like in a bridal carry, and was acting comforting and soft. I should have known. He washed me off and we went to bed. Fast forward about 4 months, and I noticed I was gaining weight and was more moody than usual. I had just started a new medication, so I chalked it up to that and dismissed it from my mind. Eventually, I had a regular doctor's appointment and mentioned the weight gain and mood swings, and added the stomach pain that had started just a few weeks ago. She became worried and sent me to get an ultrasound to check my kidneys and appendix, and that is how I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. After calling John and demanding an explanation, he admitted to removing the protection on his birthday night. I was furious and told him we were over. He shot back that I was carrying his child and couldn't do this to him. John then demanded we have a home birth with a midwife of his choosing. Because of my disability, it is extremely dangerous for me and the child to have a home birth, and I told him so. It is even dangerous for me to be pregnant in the first place because of the medication I'm on, and my mental health is at risk. I was kept for observation of the baby because I was, supposedly, you'll see, still taking my birth control, which is very dangerous. But everything seemed okay, except for the fact that I was pregnant. I moved in with my mom, who said if he tries anything, she will do whatever it takes to protect me and my daughter. I'm almost 8.5 months along now, and he won't stop calling me. I've filed for a restraining order and protection for when I go into labor. 2 of our mutual friends are on his side, though, saying I knew he wanted kids when we got together. But I never saw him as a long-term relationship, as he was controlling and verbally combative. They know this. He knew I was planning on ending the relationship. Part of me suspects he did this so I couldn't leave. Another part is too tired of this whole situation to care. AITA. Update. 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 I was thinking about how rare it is for me to get pregnant while on BC, and when I left the house, we shared after finding out I took my medication with me. All of it. And my MOM was making sure I had it all, and she pointed out that my BC looked off. And after looking through my other meds I realized, with my BC there's a placebo week that's a slightly different color like a lighter shade of cream. And that's what was in my pill minder. The saved up my placebo behind my back and had been putting it in instead of my real BC. I have grounds to sue him because he messed with my meds. Update 2. I have hired a lawyer, and with the info you guys gave about what he did, plus him messing with my medication, which is a felony in my area, I have gotten a temporary restraining order in place. My family member who will be adopting my daughter was there, along with her partner. The restraining order stretches over them as well. My due date is soon, and I will update if anything major occurs. Thank you for your support. After birth I will be tying them tubes so I can be 100% sure I will be living my child-free life. OP is not the AH. She is a victim of reproductive coercion, and had every right to confront and leave John. Her ex's actions were manipulative, dangerous, and violated her consent. As for scores, I would rate OP's X 3.5, and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Wooble Sweet Smoothie. AITA for upsetting my dad's new wife because I think she's entitled and or crazy to expect my mom's parents to treat her like a daughter and for me to treat her like a mom. My dad married Maggie 6 months ago. They dated for like 3 years before that. My sister, 11, and I, 17, have known her for like 18 months, and before she moved in about 10 months ago, we only met her a few times. Dad said it wasn't a priority because Maggie wasn't going to be our new mom or anything. Which was expected by me, and my sister was glad too. Our mom died, but she's still our mom, you know? And I'm not a little kid either. I'll be 18 this summer, and I'll be leaving for college, so Maggie won't ever be a parent to me. But Maggie does not have the same expectations as our dad. That has become clear since Christmas. Maggie was weird about me and my sister going to our maternal family for Christmas Eve, and the fact that she and Dad weren't going to. Grandma gave me a letter to give to Dad, and I did once we were home. Maggie expected one too, and when she didn't get one, she looked hurt. But it wasn't a Christmas card or anything like that. It was only a letter. In February, Maggie got very weird with me because she was taking these cooking classes that had parent and child nights once a month. My sister was too young, so she wanted me to come, and she told me it would be a good chance for us to get to spend some time together as mother and son. I didn't want to do them with her, and I said no thanks. But I'm pretty sure I pulled a face when she said she wanted us to get to know each other like that. For a couple of weeks after that, she'd look at me like a sad puppy and would be off. Last month, Maggie had her birthday, and she wanted to invite my maternal family to the party. None of them wanted to go, and she was upset to the point that my sister told me she could hear her crying about it to Dad, and she kept her awake the night she found out. My rooms are on another floor, so I didn't hear her, but my sister told me she was upset that my mom's family wasn't welcoming her into the family. Yesterday, my sister and I went to our maternal family for Mother's Day. Maggie was upset when we got home, and I could hear her telling Dad she was disappointed in him for letting her be treated as less than a daughter by our mom's parents. She told him we should be with her for Mother's Day now, too. That it would make more sense and was more expected. Dad told her we wanted to spend the day with our family like we always had. She told him we should have all been there, and she should have been included. She said there's enough contact between Dad and Mom's family for her to be taken in as a daughter. Dad came out to us after that and asked us how it went and stuff. Maggie followed us into the kitchen after a little while and asked what we did. My sister was telling her, and Maggie asked if we missed her or if our grandparents or anyone in Mom's family sent her anything. I told her they didn't. She looked totally hurt by that, and I asked her if she really expected Mom's family to treat her like a daughter, and I pointed out Mom was their kid, not Dad, and Mom died. She said she didn't see why they couldn't love her and accept her as another daughter and sister when she's family now. And then I asked her if she really expected me to treat her like a mom, and she didn't even let me finish before saying yes. She told me she was trying to reach out to me like that, and I was being stubborn, and she said I'm never too old to have another mother or parent. I asked her in what world she thought that was possible, and she said it was what she deserved, and she didn't deserve to be treated like she doesn't belong. She said if my mom's family embraced her like she wants, so would me and my sister. I told her that was so entitled. I pointed out I'm almost 18 and will be moving out in a few months, and I told her she's not family to my mom's side. I told her Dad's side needs to include her and treat her right, but she never needs to speak to her mom's side. What I said upset her a lot, and Dad told me I should have let it go. She would have pulled herself together if given time. He said all I did was make her feel unwanted and unlovable. I told him she was going to keep expecting more if, after 6 months, she hasn't figured out she's not my new mom or grandma and grandpa's new daughter. Before I went to the hospital this morning for my annual cardiology checkup, she told me I had wounded her heart with my words. She told me I should consider that welcoming people with love and full acceptance is the way everyone should go, and that it's not entitled to want to be a daughter and mother to the people in her family. She was still upset when we got back, and now, I'm alone in the house with her. And I can tell she's waiting for me to go and apologize, and she might even expect a hug, but that totally won't be happening. AITA. OP is not the AH. Maggie's expectations are unrealistic and insensitive, especially considering the loss of OP's mom and the limited relationship history. OP responded with honesty and healthy boundaries, which are important. So, I would rate OP Dad's new wife 2.5, and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from Sign Realistic 3674. AITA for telling a friend he took advantage of me? IF mid-20s, Had been friends with this guy for a couple of years. We met through work, different departments, and would hang out quite a bit. We're the same age, mid-20s. And it was nice to have a friendship with a guy my age. I figured he had a bit of a thing for me, but I never pursued it because I have issues with intimacy due to a couple of assaults I experienced as a teenager. We had known each other for years at this point, and I thought he was my friend, so I told him about my negative experiences as a teenager, and he was nice enough about it. One night, we got very drunk and ended up getting a hotel room. We almost had but I ended up getting sick from drinking too much and had to leave. He was very nice about the whole thing, offered to hold my hair back, which was very sweet. We continued to hang out, but we never discussed that incident. Cut to a few months later and I am having a pretty hard time with my mental health. I've dealt with depression for years, but I try to never put that on others. I was raised never to ask for anything and to just figure things out on my own, so that's what I do. But that day, I was at the end of my rope. I was feeling suicidal, and I told him so. I had helped him through a similar mental health crisis earlier that year. I felt like I couldn't talk to my other friends about this, so I asked if we could meet up for lunch, and he agreed. We met up for lunch the next day. We talked for a while. I had a few drinks, he didn't. And then he invited me to go back to his place. As soon we got there, he started fondling and kissing me. I was pretty drunk and frankly wanting some affection, so I kissed him back. He asked me if I wanted to go all the way, adding that it might not mean anything in the morning, which should have been my cue to leave. I don't even remember what I said, but we ended up in bed. The was disastrous. No foreplay, no cuddling, barely any kissing. He knew my only other experiences with had been statutory rape and assault by a family member. There was no tenderness, nothing. I basically picked a point on the wall and focused on it until the whole thing was over. Afterward, he drove me home and didn't say very much. I reached out to him the next day, he didn't reach out to me. After I'd sobered up and had some time to think about the whole thing, telling him that I wish it hadn't happened during such a vulnerable moment in my life and that I felt a little used due to my fragile mental state at the time / the fact that I had been drinking. He suddenly acted very concerned, asking if he had hurt me physically, which, honestly, he did. The whole thing was rough. I said I was hurt in general and felt taken advantage of. He responded with, I said it might not mean anything before it happened, and you were fine with that. Why can't we be adults about this? At that point, I told him that our friendship was over. And that was that. However, I've recently had a few mutual friends tell me I was too hard on him, was wrong to accuse him of taking advantage, and that I shouldn't have thrown the friendship away. Am I the asshole here? I wasn't trying to make this guy feel bad, but honestly, the whole experience was so awful, and I'm so incredibly hurt. Thoughts. OP is not the AH. She was in a highly vulnerable emotional state, and her so-called friend knowingly initiated sex without proper care or regard for her trauma history. Her reaction was a valid response to feeling emotionally and physically hurt. As for scores, I would rate OP's friend 3.5, and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Fickle Lionheart. AITA for reporting my future mother-in-law for snooping and reading my son's confidential file? About 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I reported my future mother-in-law to her workplace for reading my son's confidential information. For starters, I am in Canada, not the US, but we do still have a confidentiality law similar to the US. Anyway, here is the story. My son was referred to an early intervention office after I raised concerns to our family doctor about possible autism for his 18-month checkup. After hearing my reasons for suspecting this, she agreed he very well could have it and referred me to start with an early childhood developmental interventionalist to assess his needs and then refer me to the autism team. Unfortunately, FMIL works there. Also, please note I am in a very small town and this was the only option. Although for the past 3 years she has worked at a different office, which is almost 2 hours away, it is rare for her to be in the office where my son was referred. Her work, on top of strict confidentiality laws that, to my understanding, state you can't just read any patient's file that you want to, has strict rules that family cannot work with family, as it's a conflict of interest. Somehow, she happened to be in that office location when my son's referral came in, which I'm very suspicious of, And, side note, she did know about the referral ahead of time because my fiancé felt the need to tell her that her work would be getting a referral for him. She called my fiancé and told him she read his referral and told him what it said, what the doctor's notes were, etc. And her thoughts on it all. Which, by the way, she is highly against my son having autism and thinks I'm making it all up to get him diagnosed for whatever reason, and I was afraid of her swaying his assessment due to talking to co-workers about her strong opinions. I was already planning on asking the assigned worker during our first visit to keep FMIL off the case, including discussing it with her if she asked anything about it, due to conflict of interest, but after my fiancé told me she flat out read his information she was not entitled to read, I thought not, and I emailed the office immediately to express what an overstep I found that to me, and stating that I want her to have zero involvement moving forward, and I want her to never be able to read anything involving his case again. This became a huge issue. My fiancé was angry with me as he said I should have gone to FMIL first and asked her to please not read our son's file. Then, if it happened 2 more times to remind her, I will report her if it keeps happening. Then after a 3rd time fiancé said he would step in to warn her himself. To me, first of all, that is 4 chances before fiancé even steps in and 5 chances before she potentially gets any repercussions, and also secondly, I figured why wouldn't she just keep reading it and just not tell us she read it. Fiancé says I lack respect and I am a coward for not calling or going to his mother in person to discuss it and hear her side, and tell her I want to report her before taking any action. So, what happened was, his mother went to a board meeting with a bunch of people, including her boss and the board of directors for the company, and whoever else. She is set to retire in just a few weeks now, and they concluded that what she did was extremely wrong, but considering she is leaving very soon and it was her grandchild, they slapped her on the wrist with a warning if it happened again, she would be done for, and sent her on her way. Future mother-in-law claims that she was perfectly within her right to read my son's information because she claims anyone could have read it, as it was just a referral faxed over from the doctor. For your information, there was more than just a basic referral. There was also confidential papers on a developmental questionnaire I did with my doctor to determine if he even needed the referral there or not. And she could have even been the one to be sitting at the fax machine and received it. She also claimed, while yelling at me on the phone the night before her board meeting to try and get me to tell them she was just a concerned grandma and I gave her permission to read his information, that she only read it because she believed I was in the wrong spot and getting the wrong referral for him, and she wanted to read what me and the doctor said so she could determine a better place for him to be referred to and help me. Which I told her was none of her business and not her place whatsoever. She also didn't stumble upon his papers, she seamed them out and read them, knowingly, not accidentally. Anyway, the family is mad at me and claims what she did was upsetting, but me reporting her and potentially ruining her career and risking her job, retirement and life, because you can be charged or go to jail for breaching confidentiality, is a million times worse than what she did initially to make me even report her. AITA. Or am I partially? This has been weighing heavily on my mind as I feel I did the right thing for my son and his privacy, but I have my fiancé's family in my ear telling me what I did was extremely wrong on every level. I am just so torn and confused about what I did or if I'm wrong for doing it. OP is not the AH. She acted to protect her son's medical privacy, which was seriously violated by her future mother-in-law, a professional who knowingly broke confidentiality rules. As for scores, I would rate OP's future mother-in-law 2.5, and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from outside_story 6862. AITA for breaking up with my boyfriend after 3 years of toxic behavior? I'm 21, F, and my ex is 23, M. Let's call him A. We met through mutual friends. A's best friend was dating my best friend, and they thought we'd be a good match. I wasn't keen on long-distance relationships, but my best friend convinced me to give it a try. After talking to him for a few months and hearing good things about him, I decided to give it a chance. Before dating A, I had a close male friend, B, who lived nearby. I asked B about A, and after some reassurance, I felt comfortable moving forward with him. At first, A was protective, which I liked. He wasn't a player, and I appreciated the little bit of jealousy he showed. We kept our relationship low-key because my parents were strict, and we didn't go out much. We'd meet at his friend's house and stay somewhat intimate, but it wasn't a big deal to me at the time. The shift in our relationship. When I started college, things started to change. I became increasingly insecure and started questioning my friendships. He accused me of being a lesbian because I spent time with other women at college. Whenever I defended myself, he'd turn the conversation around and say that I was just confirming his suspicions. It became a recurring pattern of emotional manipulation. After a year, things took a serious turn. On our anniversary, I forgot about it because he was stressed with exams. I didn't get upset at first, but when I called him later, he shocked me by saying, "I didn't want to be in a year-long relationship with you." This crushed me, but I assumed it was just stress. However, he continued ignoring me the next day, and when I reached out, he didn't respond. I gave him space, but after a week of silence, he unfriended me on all social media platforms. I unfriended him back and told myself I wouldn't reach out unless he apologized. The toxicity deepens. 3 weeks later, he contacted me, not to apologize, but to meet up for physical reasons. I was furious. I had exams, and he didn't even ask how I was doing. His message was solely about meeting up for intimacy. I wrote him a long message explaining how I felt unappreciated and how his actions weren't acceptable. His reply: he laughed it off and made a crude joke about me. That was the moment I realized he wasn't worth my time. I blocked him everywhere, except for his phone number, and he didn't try to stop me. My friends encouraged me to move on, and I finally did after some time. His attempt to come back. After 3 months, I reached out again, but this time through his best friend. He apologized, but didn't take responsibility for his actions. When I told him I needed an apology from him directly, he said, "I didn't want to come back. My friend convinced me to do this." I brushed it off, but decided to give him another chance. But things didn't change. His behavior got worse. He accused me of cheating every time I was on the phone with my parents or talking to my friends. He demanded all my passwords and kept checking my phone. Meanwhile, he had no problem being as social as he wanted with his friends. More insecurities and control. I became more controlling. When I had exams, he expected me to be available for him, but when he had exams, I was expected to be understanding and not expect much communication. I had to follow his rules, but he didn't do the same for me. He questioned every aspect of my life and became possessive. He even accused me of having an inappropriate relationship with my uncle just because we were close. He kept reminding me of our past physical moments and would try to talk about intimate things, even when I didn't want to. It felt exhausting, and I started to feel like I was just being treated like a body, not a partner. The final breaking point. In January, A and I went to a hotel for a day, but I made it clear that I wasn't going to lose my virginity to him because I believed in waiting for marriage. After that, his insecurities deepened even further. He started making me feel uncomfortable about everything: who I was talking to, what I was doing, and where I was. I had to constantly explain myself and justify my actions. I couldn't breathe without being accused of something. I was going through a rough year with exams, my college life, and my strict parents. I felt overwhelmed, but he didn't respect my boundaries. He expected me to be there for him at all times, but he never showed that same respect for me. Eventually, I realized that I wasn't gaining anything from this relationship but stress and emotional exhaustion. I broke up with him for good. His final attempt to reconnect. After a month of no contact, I tried to come back. I refused, but I made the mistake of staying in contact as friends. He took that as a sign we were still in a relationship. When I finally decided to cut ties completely, he accused me of cheating. Things escalated when one night, he called me from multiple numbers, drunk and angry, using terrible language. He said I deserved the abuse and mistreatment from the past 3 years and called me all sorts of degrading names. I was in shock. I didn't reply and just blocked him. I cried all night and decided to move on. He kept calling from different numbers, but I didn't respond. Eventually, I decided to listen to what he had to say. He apologized, begged for forgiveness, and wanted me back. I told him no and blocked every new number he used to reach me. Now, I'm wondering if I did the right thing. It was a long relationship, but it was emotionally draining and toxic, even though I love him. So, AITA for breaking up with him? OP is not the AH. She endured years of emotional manipulation, control, and verbal abuse, and made the right decision to prioritize her mental health and self-respect. Breaking up was a necessary and courageous act of self-preservation. As for scores, I would rate OP's boyfriend 2.5, and OP 0 out of 5 on the scale. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an or not? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.